Okay, hello everyone. Magandang araw sa ating lahat. So for today, what we will be discussing is paano nga ba gumawa ng introduction. So basically, the introduction it serves as the foundation and guiding the readers, and it presents the background information. And ito pinakamahalaga sa lahat, ano? It identifies the research gaps and it outlines the study's objectives. So basically, ano ba yung pinakamahalaga dito sa introduction? Sa introduction, binibigyan natin ng context and background information. Ano ba yung mga kulang dun sa other studies na susubukang punan o susubukang i-fill in nung ating ginagawang study. So, bukod dito, kailangan din nating maintindihan bakit natin siya pinag-aaralan. Bakit natin siya ginagawa. Basically, yun yung pinakalaman ng introduction. So, the first one, it is the background of the study. It basically introduces the research topic and provides an overview of the existing knowledge. So it also establishes the relevance of the topic in the academic, societal, or industry context. And it sets the stage for the research problem by providing foundational information. Basically, this is the rationale, no? Bigyan ko lang kayo ng context. So, itong study na pinag-uusapan natin dito sa introduction na ito, ang pinag-uusapan natin basically is yung research article type ng introduction. Ano yung pinagkaiba niya sa thesis type na introduction? Yung thesis type na introduction, mas mahaba siya. Nandiyan nakapasok yung rationale. Number two, nakapasok din dyan yung RRL or Review of Related Literature. Nakapasok din dyan yung expanded na scope and delimitation, and nakapasok din dyan yung definition of terms. So basically, mas dito sa research article type, mas compact yung introduction na ginagawa natin. Hindi siya ganun ka-extensive o ganun kahaba gaya dun sa thesis type ng introduction. So, ang number one na kailangan natin gawin is to start with a strong hook. So, basically, kailangan nating makuha yung attention ng ating reader. Kailangan natin makuha yung attention, bakit kailangan nila itong basahin, bakit kailangan nila itong aralin. So, for example, in an era where artificial intelligence is reshaping education, students increasingly turn to AI tools like ChatGPT to assist with learning and academic tasks. So basically, ang ginagamit natin tong strong hook para magkaroon ng interest yung ating reader. Nang nakuha na natin yung ating reader, nakuha na natin siya para basahin itong ating ginagawa, maglagay na tayo ng background information. Example, so AI-powered chatbots are now integrated into classrooms worldwide, raising questions about their effectiveness, ethical implications, and impact on learning. So basically, dito naglalagay na tayo ng mga sources natin para mas mabigyan natin ng background information. Ibig sabihin, nandito na yung mga studies from different sources. Ngayon, pag na-establish na natin yung background information, ilagay na natin ano yung kulang ng mga studies na yon. What is missing about them? What has not been adequately explored in previous studies? Because it highlights inconsistencies or contradictions or limitations in existing literature. So basically guys, ang pinakamahalaga na kailangan natin gawin sa introduction part is to establish the research gap. Kailangan natin establish bakit natin kailangan ginagawa yung isang study. Ano yung kulang kung bakit natin siya inaaral pa. So, inaaral natin siya dahil ito yung kulang. These are the research gap. So, we need to emphasize kung ano nga ba yung kulang ng other literatures na pupunan ng ating ginagawang study. Basically, yun yung pinakamahalaga dito to fill in the gaps of the existing literature. Gets? So, paano natin malalaman yun? Identify the research gap. So, discuss what has been studied before at ipakita natin what is missing. Show the need for your research by highlighting gaps in existing literature. For example, so while studies have explored AI's role in education, few have examined how college students actively use ChatGPT and its perceived impact on their academic performance. So, ibig sabihin, ina-establish siya dito na meron pa rin kulang na kailangan punan ng ginagawa niyang pag-aaral. So, dito, number 4 and number 5, now na-establish mo na yung gap, state your research problem clearly and the objectives of the study kailangan din nating ma-emphasize, ano? So, this study seeks to understand the motivations, usage patterns, and academic effects of ChatGPT among university students. So, basically, ano yung gusto nating ipakita dito? Yung research problem sa ganitong klaseng type, in other researches, talagang naka-question mark siya. However, di, yung ibang format, ang ginagawa is naka-statement type. Tulad nitong example na to, naka-statement pa rin siya. Pero you are stating your research problem through this kind of format. So, ngayon, dito sa research questions or hypothesis, if applicable, pwede din tayong maglagay. So, if the study is quantitative, states the hypothesis that will be tested. For example, yung hypothesis natin, gumagawa tayo about sa AI and academic performance, pwede nating ilagay, using ChatGPT has a positive effect on the academic performance of the students. So basically, na-establish natin yung hypothesis doon sa ating ginagawang study. Ngayon, present your research objectives and questions. So basically, ito yung example. Specifically, this research aims to, number one, analyze the students' motivations for using ChatGPT. Number two, examine how frequently and for what purposes they use it. And number three, evaluate its perceived impact on academic performance. So nakaganyan siya. Ginawang ganyan yung statement kasi nga, ito yung isang pwedeng format nung IMRAD na ginagawa natin. So the significance of the study, basically, bakit mahalaga itong study at sino yung makikinabang dito sa ginagawa nating study. So it discusses the potential contributions to academia, policy, or practice. So ngayon, ano yung mga example nito? So example is findings from this study can provide insights for educators and institutions to develop better AI-related policies and guidelines for student learning. So pinapakita natin dito, sino yung makikinabang doon sa ginagawa nating study. So mas bumibigat yung ating study dahil na-identify na natin yung gaps, and at the same time, alam natin kung sino magbe-benefit dito sa ginagawa nating study. Ito, no, yung theoretical framework, if applicable, pwede na din natin ilagay para mas maintindihan yung guide na ginagamit natin sa study. For example, ilalagay mo lang, this study is guided by the uses and gratifications theory, which explains how individuals actively seek media to satisfy specific needs. Pwede mo pang i-expand dyan, pero basically, ganun yung pinaka-concept. Kung paano mo ginamit yung theory doon sa iyong study at paano i-understand yung study mo using that theory. So basically, ginagamit siya to understand yung individuals actively seek media to satisfy their specific needs. Dito naman sa scope and delimitation, ito yung mga tinatawag na pinagbabawal na technique. Kapag ka, halimbawa, itong sa scope and delimitations, parang pinagsasawa ng bahala ng ibang mga researcher. Pero ito yung magsasalba sa kanilang study. For example, meron kang study about doon sa mga babaeng mayor dito sa Nueva Ecija. Ngayon, sa tingin mo, makukuha mo ba lahat ng mga mayor? Kahit nagpadala ka ng letter sa lahat ng mayor dito sa Nueva Ecija, most probably, hindi lahat yan ay magpapaunlak ng interview sa'yo. So, pwede mong ilagay doon sa scope and delimitations mo na isa to sa mga pinaka-main problem na yung na experience. So, in order for you to to do yung study, ilagay mo sa scope and delimitation. Explain mo buti na ganun yung ginawa mo. Okay? So, why is the research gap important? Basically, isasabi ko lang ulit, nire-reiterate ko lang, that the research gap is crucial because it justifies the need for the study. Without identifying a gap, the research may lack originality or significance. So, clearly defining the gap helps position the study within the existing literature and highlights its contribution to the field. So, yun yung mga kailangan nating makita. Establish talaga natin yung research gap doon sa introduction na ginagawa natin. So for example, isa to sa mga ginawa kong studies, ano? Ginawa ko study about sa mga sex workers in the rural Philippines. So the COVID-19 pandemic has shaped every aspect of our society. Ito yung ginawa kong hook para makuha yung perspective and makuha ko yung attention ng aking reader. So, ito na, nagbibigay na ako ng background. It has shown and exposed the inequalities in social support systems around the world, revealing gaps that further marginalize vulnerable people. In addition, the coronavirus outbreak has also uncovered and highlighted the existing social problems in our society. It cannot be contained without addressing poverty, mobility, and food security among poorest and most vulnerable people. So, within any given society, exist certain segments of the population who have been or continue to be marginalized, misrepresented, and silenced. Question, sino ba itong mga marginalized, misrepresented, and silenced na to? Binibigyan ko na ng background and context itong sinasabi ko. So, sino sila? This includes the sex workers which have been severely affected as a result of the prohibition of physical contact. So, sex workers around the world are facing difficulties, increased discrimination, harassment, and loss of income. So, furthermore, again, andito ulit yung context kung bakit natin siya kailangan pag-aralan. They experience severe stigma and discrimination. According to the definition of stigma, ito, dinefine ko lang yung stigma dyan sa part na yan. So, sex workers' ability to defend themselves is determined and influenced by their work environment, community support, access to health, and social assistance. However, these sex workers are excluded from government relief, protection programs, and health services. Yun yung sad reality. Hindi talaga sila kasama dyan. Kasi nga, for the context of the Philippines, prostitution is illegal. Illegal, hindi legal, ano? That's why this causes sex workers as one of the most marginalized groups are being left behind. Ayan, nalagyan ko na ng context and background yung experiences ng sex workers. Ngayon, dito sa part na to, the narratives of the marginalized and experienced during these devastating times were still undocumented and unheard. Binibigyan ko na yung gap or ano yung kulang. Bakit kulang? Bakit hindi pa rin sila napakikinggan? Bakit undocumented sila? Because in the context of the Philippines, kahit na meron na tayong digital era, the subject of sex remains taboo. Hindi na pag-uusapan. Kaya itong 800,000 prostitute or 500,000 prostitutes in the country are still marginalized because their experiences are still undocumented and unheard. That's why yung mga many prostitutes living in the country who needs to be heard. So in this sense, through this study, I will try to locate the status and conditions of the sex workers in the rural Philippines, particularly in the Central Luzon region, during these challenging times. This research focuses on views from below to help understand these gaps. So na-contextualize ko na kung ano yung mga kulang do sa study na kailangan pang punan at kailangan pa nating mapag-aralan. That's why ito na yung aking magiging objectives of the study. The primary aim of this study is to document the narratives and lived experiences of sex workers in Central Luzon during the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as to understand how they dealt with new approaches and strategies for gaining customers and money amid the pandemic. So aside from that, this study will also examine the phenomenological experiences of sex workers in the rural Philippines, specifically how they cope up with the pandemic and how the pandemic transformed the sex industry in the country. So basically, through their narratives, gusto kong malaman kung ano yung mga nangyari sa kanila. Basically, yun yung tanong, what happened to sex workers during pandemic? So, if I document their narratives, their experiences, makikita ko rin paano nangyari doon sa sex industry, quote and unquote, na naganap because of pandemic. So in that sense, itong ginawa ko introduction, one of your activity is to criticize. I-criticize nyo to as a group that will serve as your activity. Mag-i-criticize ninyo at i-kokommentan ninyo kung ano pa yung mga pwedeng i-improve or ano pa yung mga pwedeng kulang. So I will be grading you based on bibigay ko lang yung rubrics. Magbigay na lang ako ng rubrics doon sa ating Google Classroom para mas magawa ninyo. Again, that this activities is group activity, and aside from that, magbibigay na din ako sa inyo ng inyong another Google Classroom kung saan inyo naman isasubmit yung inyong nagawang introduction, yung inyong working introduction. So again, yung rubrics nun, isasend ko na lang din dun as part of the Google Classroom. So with that, guys, I hope you learned something about the introduction part. And with that, I'll see you on the next video. And thank you. Thank you so much.